In this business environment of COVID-19, do you keep your staff? Do you let people go? Do you give them paid leave? Do you give them unpaid leave? Do you declare them redundant? These are the questions out there. And the noise has been around how people will lose their jobs. So as an SME, as an entrepreneur, it's very easy for your mind to lock onto that as the alternative. After all, unfortunately, the stories in the large corporate world that have been highlighted time and time again have been about retrenchments when things are bad. Even retrenchment when companies make less profit. Let me just state my position on this. I disagree with that. So even if you're a big corporate, if you're simply making less profit than expected, I think it is wrong for your first response to be to cut people's livelihoods. So back to you, the SME. Let me explain to you why you should try to keep people employed. When one person loses their job, it's not just about them. First of all, they lose their spending power, food, doing their hair, going out, school fees, basics, electricity, it's cut. So that's already disastrous for the economy. So you can imagine if that one person, that's just one person, 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people all lose spending power. It's disastrous. And then it's not just about them. Each of those people probably have a domestic help in their house or two, who then support other people, and they also have in the same way they're keeping the economy up. So if we all default to thinking about how we should let people go, it's going to be disastrous. And I think this is the time where we think not just about our businesses, but even as Kenyans, what is right. And I think it is right to keep people in jobs. We have been disrupted. We do have to do things differently. There are some businesses that today revenue stopped immediately. And not everybody will be able to keep everybody employed, yeah? But I'm just saying, let's go down this rabbit hole of asking ourselves, if we move in the spirit of keep people in jobs, what alternatives might we find? Yeah, then if we don't find, then we can consider the other unfortunate circumstance. So first, if you have cash flows or cash reserves, just do the calculation and see how much longer can I keep paying people. So just do a budget with the cash that you actually have. For some of you, you may not have been disrupted. You just need to change the way you're doing business. So even before we start saying, I'm going to cut people's jobs, are you cutting people's jobs because you can't comprehend doing business differently? You can't comprehend or offering your service online? You can't comprehend, instead of people coming physically to your restaurant, that you can deliver food and start a whole conversation in marketing online or address your consumer differently? So don't default to that unless you've thought through that. Secondly, what expenses do you have that you can restructure? I think now that for some, especially the large corporates, that you're not doing business travel, is a time to realize some of those business class tickets were people's incomes for a year. And I think one of the things that's we're really going to bust here is, do we need to be going physically for meetings as much as we used to have to? So you can save money. Maybe it's your landlord that you need to have a conversation with to give you some leeway on rent. Maybe it's talking to your bank and restructuring loan payment. So go to those expenses first before firing people. What's the point of having a beautiful office when you come back to work, you have to rebuild the whole team again? Third, if things continue longer, your cash gets depleted, business not moving along or picking up as well as you thought, maybe you start considering things like, first of all, talk to your people and let them weigh in. They also have solutions that you can actually look at. You can be honest with them and say, this is what we are actually going through. So other things that can be considered are, after a while, do you go on partial payments? Can you now say people 75%, 50%, 25%? I was talking to someone who said they probably wouldn't be able to do more than a month, but after that, what they can put together is a survival kit for people so that people have their basics covered. Do you as an entrepreneur now need to look at, do I train my people on how they can talk to the bank about how to restructure their debts, because a lot of what is using people's income is loan repayments. So do you train them on that, how to talk to their landlord? And if you would like, we as Centonomy, this is something we can actually help with. So go into that conversation first. I cannot stress this enough. Innovate and reinvent. It may not be with everybody, but there is a chance. The experience you've had to date doesn't mean you have networks, you've built a business, you've built a brand. That can be used for something. Now, to the employee, please understand that your CEO or the owner of that business, please understand with this conversation what they are going through to try and make sure is food that they can pay you, that you have bread and butter on your table. So this is not the time to be slack. So don't take working from home as an excuse to be slack. This is the time that your CEO is going to start looking who is with me to provide solutions. And if you also show up as a person who without money comfortably, you are never going to work, I think even when there's a rebound from this, you will not be the person who goes on to the next journey. So it's time for all of us to pull together, both employers and employees. It's time for us to treat each other as human beings, because nobody knows all the answers. And time for us for our relationship to be beyond just a financial transaction. But to the employer, please, as much as you can, keep people in jobs. Thank you.